Welcome back for the final installment of Extreme Metal Vocals, and in this episode we will be joined once again by our heavy metal vocalist panel. We'll be going over a bunch of different topics, but right now, why don't we start it off with what exactly are extreme metal vocals?
I think that might change for different bands. For me, it's that classic death metal vocals. Like when I heard death for the first time, I was like this. That's when I started getting that idea, like death metal. Like this is what this is, and I latched onto it and loved it, and I was like, it's like a way of life in a way, like it's a big fucking deal,
Mm-hmm. I've thought a lot about it being one for so long. Is why do we, I think it's to do with fitting in with the aggression of guitar and drums being, everything's cranked up, what can you do with your body? You can only just make this loud growling sound to sound as tough and aggressive as the music you're feeling. And so it's just literally that that's why you don't necessarily need to know the words. You just like the way that is sounding with the music. And then when you actually pick up the lyrics and follow along, it's clear as day as soon as you look at it. and then it gets even cooler that you now know the words inside this crazy weird death sound, this sound that, it's just to, I think, fit in with the intensity of the music. Something like that.
I think unlike clean vocals, like you hear like symphonic metal bands, there's a huge contrast in the vocals and the music. The music's driving, the vocals are, like just this like crystal clear, like operatic thing. But with extreme metal vocals, they fit. They're in the pocket of everything else that's happening. And in addition to that, I think there needs to be some sort of an aggressive element. So if you just heard the vocals, you need to hear that and be like, that's aggressive. Mm-hmm. Because there's many different varieties. There's shrieking, and then there's pig squeals, and then there's like Cookie Monster vocals. Yeah. It spans the spectrum. It's just as ranged as clean singing, but I think the one common trait is aggression. Mm-hmm.
Are extreme metal vocals interchangeable? Like, can they be performed on other music, on other styles of music?
That's a good question. I mean, I almost feel like if you're doing death metal vocals, that honestly right away people are gonna just be like, wow, obviously that's some kind of metal, even if there's no metal playing. I could see them just like not being able to accept that,
Yeah, definitely. As soon as you're like growling and screaming into a mic, you're usually doing that to go along with the extreme music. It turns into a joke as soon as you kind of start clashing the different ideas like that. Like there's all kinds of hilarious videos where you do have death vocals over, these songs, these hilarious songs and all that. So it only really works when it's all extreme or all aggressive and all of that. So, yeah.
I think I'd have to disagree with that. Actually, I think
I knew you would.
in Norway and Scandinavia, a lot of the bands that were black metal bands, 20 years ago, some of them like evolved into completely different genres of music. Like Ulver comes to mind, and there's also other ones that I've been exposed to. They're like. It's like keyboards and like this really like ambient thing, and then all of a sudden you get these like growls like that come in, but it's like it works because it's already kind of dark and brooding music. But I wouldn't necessarily classify that as metal. It's metal artists who have branched out into that, but listening to it, there's no double bass, there's no guitars even or anything of the elements that are traditionally metal.
Gotta try, walk the best with principle through the streets at night.
So are we ever gonna, is it ever gonna be mainstream? Are we ever gonna see Justin Bieber growl?
I highly doubt it.
I hope not.
Yeah. It's just,
I was just gonna say, as far as like metal being mainstream, we've been through that, a couple times now.
Well, just more so the vocals themselves becoming mainstream.
Yeah, no, well, I can't see it. I don't want to see it.
Yeah, no, I think it is. It's just too extreme. That's the line. Like that, they might yell, sing, but growling is a whole nother, art, so to speak. It's a whole. I think it crosses the line of mainstream that would just never mix. I think that is, it's too far, kind of thing. So. Yeah.
Well, I mean, how mainstream are we talking here? Like,
Yeah.
like the pop world will never embrace that,
Yeah.
but there's artists.
You see bands like Alexis
Oh,
on
I was
Fire.
just gonna say Alexis on Fire. It's like 10 years ago, everybody knew their name, and most kids in high school were wearing their T-shirts. But they kind of growled, I guess.
Yeah.
I find there's not
And
much
they're
of a
pretty
difference.
mainstream. I mean,
Yeah.
Well, I find there's not much of a difference with kids nowadays. Like you look at a kid's iPod nowadays, they've got country songs, they've got metal songs, they've got rap songs, they've got everything all across the board.
Yeah.
And like I remember when I grew up, at least that was not how it was. There was metal kids and there was country kids and there was the punk kids and
Each genre had a little group.
For me, actually, like I did like high school and stuff in Prince Albert, Saskatchewan, and that's how it was. It was very cliquey, like the jocks and the heads and the skaters, and everybody is all separated. And then I moved back to my hometown where I was born in Nepal, Manitoba, and it was like everything opened up and everybody hung out with each other, even if they didn't even like each other. Like the big pit parties would have everybody be there, and it would be Fear Factory, Sepultura, Funk Dubious, House of Pain, and it was like all this different types of music, and everybody just enjoyed it, and it was like I was like, fucking rights, man. This is how it should be. Like, being open to different types of music is a good thing.
Once aside, we waste no time kicking off the night.
So why does the yelling or growling or screaming sound good to some people, and why are some people so put off by it?
I don't know. You want to start this one? Yeah.
It's funny. I noticed this. I can't remember what band it was, but I was watching some black metal band perform, and it's like I'm watching them perform, and it's just so fast, and I'm just like, I feel really relaxed right now. This is like really relaxing, actually. And I'm just standing there. I'm kind of swaying gently back and forth. I wasn't even drunk. Maybe I was. I can't remember. But it's just like, for me, it's like, and the vocalist comes in, and it's like, all of a sudden something switched in that moment, and it was like I could understand what he was saying perfectly. And this is when I was starting to get into extreme metal, because I started off listening mostly to rock music and then kind of evolved into it, like the late 90s thing. So there was a switch for me that had to happen. And I think at that point it was like, okay, if I listen to it and I pay attention and I'm really feeling the music, then it's easy to hear what the lyrics are saying, right? And for me it has to be congruent. Like whatever the lyrical content is, it's got to be, the vocal style has to match that. Like you can't be singing about the genre of heavy metal and just be like you can't be doing Manowar lyrics with like, Cradle of Filth vocals or something like that. So
Fast we approach with lingering hope, this place of common straw. A black
How difficult is it to actually perform vocals in a high caliber heavy metal band? Doing the extreme vocals.
I find it quite physical. I do I have a day job. I just do computer work, so I'm sitting all day. If I don't keep active, and my singing goes downhill fast. It's very, very physical thing. Like I find usually the drummer and the singer are usually just covered in sweat. At a jam or whatever. It's such a your body is the instrument, so. And then to go all the way to full screaming, growling, then you have to figure out how to not destroy your body while trying to do that, like turn your throat into leather and all that.
Yeah.
And so it's a huge challenge, and it takes a long time, I find, to really get it so that you're comfortable and it sounds good and you're not destroying yourself, kind of thing.
I know for me, it is pretty taxing, and to the point where I'm not the kind of guy to be like, I gotta work out. But after doing all these shows the last few years, I've been like, man, I gotta work on my cardio. Mm-hmm. I gotta work on my breathing, and I gotta be able to run around, jump around, and do all this stuff while doing this it's basically like a lot of breathing. It's all about the breathing, you know. So it's quite a big deal, you know, to have some fitness in your life. I think, you know.
It's funny. I actually have asthma, and pretty bad to the point where, like, you know, sometimes if I gotta go up a few flights of stairs, I'm pretty winded at the end of it. So to still be singing is kind of crazy, and I really like the day of a gig. I've got to like plan that out. Like that morning, it's like, you know, eat light, eat a solid breakfast, usually just like eggs or something like that with, you know, maybe a bit of bacon or something. That's it, and then have a coffee. But throughout the day, eat lightly and mostly just like salads, no bread, no sugar, that kind of thing. Because that kind of stuff I find creates mucus, which in turn is just like the enemy of singing. And then before the gig, I try not to eat. Everyone will go out for dinner. I might have something small. And then this is the hardest part, is not drinking. Because when I'm at a gig, I just want to like throw back a few beers. But I've learned that is the worst thing. And then, you know, once I'm off the stage, that's why I hate headlining. I love to just, you know, have a few beers at that point.
Show your smile and pour my cup of wine.
So do you feel that extreme metal vocalists get the respect and get the they're just deserved for what they actually do?
Possibly. I mean, you know, it's definitely, you know, as you know, we get to be the front man or the front person of the band, and quite often, like, you know, here we are, right? We got asked to come do this interview and do this for you guys. So, yeah, I mean, you know, it's usually the bass player that doesn't get the respect. I mean,
Thanks, guys.
I think it's still a pretty classic kind of layout of the lead singer, even in a death metal band, still is kind of, that's mostly who people know in the band or kind of remember. But so yeah, I think we get all the respect and whatnot, recognition. I think so. Yeah.
I think vocalists get respect if they do what they do well, regardless of what style it is, right? Like if it's just, you know, somebody who's just
Same old,
like just kind of like head down into the microphone, not really doing anything interesting.
Yeah.
No one's gonna be like, "Oh, that guy's awesome! This is incredible." They'll be looking to the guitar player, the drummer, or the bass player, even.
Thanks, guys.
Even the bass player.
Just kidding. But anyway, you know, but if the vocalist is really animated, and you know, the vocalist's job a lot of the time, especially if they don't have a guitar, is to just gather the crowd, right? Like their hand gestures and their movements, they're really the ones. They're kind of like goading the crowd to get more into it, right? And you know, generally in extreme metal, it's like they're these like chaotic maestros, and like they're creating these death walls that just run at each other, and that's amazing to see, right? It's just like you and you kill each other, and just like mass amounts of people are just running at each other. It's pretty crazy.
Hurricanes and bandits, captains and sailors, all prosper.
What kind of evolution do you guys predict for the future of extreme metal vocals? Like, where else is there to go?
Yeah, it's a tough question. I mean, I think that nowadays you almost see it on the production end of things. You know, like with like gent type stuff, and you know, like quantizing the vocals and all this, cutting it up into little chunks, and I think that's kind of what the idea that they're trying to get across is like it's a more futuristic sound or something. But yeah, I mean that's happening now. So I mean, what goes beyond that kind of stuff? I don't know. I can't really say.
Yeah, I think you're onto it there. I think it's gonna utilize more technology types things. So more electronic, industrial type effects. Maybe, you know, what am I thinking of that? I can't even think of that genre of music right now, but just really electronic type stuff, and then maybe just more overall diversity. So maybe you'll hear just more clean singing from death metal bands, or you'll hear just different, just more than just death metal type vocals.
It's like more of a variation off a clean rather than a variation off of a growl.
Yeah, something like that. Yeah, who knows though.
I think I was talking a bit about Archspire just when the camera wasn't running, but Archspire, he mixes a lot of the things that he's got from rap music in there, and he's like doing this like spitting thing, and it's definitely sounds metal, but there's this other influence that comes in it's not really anything else in metal currently. So I think what we're going to see is potentially more hybrids of extreme metal vocals with other styles of music in there. And I think with any sort of evolution, the next generation always does it better, right? And like we can look back to the founding fathers of metal, and they did something really awesome that honestly can't be replicated, but the next generation, technique-wise at least, they kind of take it to the next level. They sing higher, or they push it more or faster or something else. So I think what we're going to see is just more like morphing of the voice, kind of, and like Sean was saying, maybe more clean singing, but we do that now, but it's kind of like, I think there'll be more transition between the two. Like it'll be like this death clean singing with some weird vibrato at the end or something.
Rain is pouring down, my spirits are still high. Reckoning day is...
I would like to thank you all for watching Extreme Metal Vocals, and I would like to thank the whole EMTV crew, as well as Sean, Che, and Dave for coming by and sharing their thoughts with us. I feel like we could have talked for hours about this subject. There's so much more to get into, to talk about, and to break down. Some of the answers were insightful and funny, and some of the answers contradicted each other. Every vocalist takes a different path, working hard to achieve their sound. And as for extreme metal vocals becoming mainstream and what the future may hold, who knows? We're gonna have to wait and see where it goes from here. If you enjoyed this show, don't forget to like, share, and subscribe, and until next time, keep it metal.